Hello, this is René Haverman, and this is Farm Future News, episode 15. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this, please push the like button and subscribe. Because one thing we cannot do is to make this channel grow without your help. Last week we spoke about fertilization of the soil and what the different nutrients were affecting the crops. This time we are going to be more practical and we ask the question how to grow, how to plant the different crops like maize, soybeans, plantain, and we try to be very practical. If you still have questions, please let us know because we love to answer your question and also to improve our communication. If you think that we are missing certain parts of the spectrum of questions we're supposed to ask by during the planting season, please let us know.
It's planting season, the rains are back, and hopefully for a longer period. This is the first time since we acquired our farm that we are planting in a huge chunk to determine the amount of produce we can get. We are planting maize and beans. With regards to maize, since we are in a semi-arid area, we picked the hybrid drought-tolerant variety that takes around 3 months from seed to harvest. We are planting in 4 out of the 10 acres we have. We are not planning on intercropping maize and beans as is usually the case. We will plant maize purely on 3.5 acres and beans on half an acre. The reason is simple, I'll tell you shortly. In order to get straight lines of maize and beans, we decided to use thread lines, which also helped us in establishing the right spacing and distance between 2 rows. As you can see, my people are digging holes along the thread lines. We divided ourselves into 3 groups in order to finish the work early enough. Group 1 had 4 men whose responsibility was to dig the holes or pockets where seeds would actually be planted. Group 2, where my son and I belonged, was responsible for planting the seeds in the holes, and the last group, of course, of the 2 ladies was in charge of covering planted pockets with loose light soil just to facilitate germination. The reason as to why we are separating beans from maize is that the soil here has a lot of nitrogen from organic matter. Beans add nitrogen to the soil, and too much nitrogen affects maize. Secondly, we want to discourage competition of soil nutrients between maize and beans, as maize tend to suffer a lot. Thirdly, beans require more water than maize, and it will be easier to handle if they were planted separately, since we are not using any form of irrigation currently. Therefore, the beans will be planted in a section of the farm that's closer to the main source of water in case the rains fail us. My neighbor across the road has sunk a borehole, and that's where we get our water currently before we sink ours. You can see how thick his fence is compared to mine, and also in comparison to the residents around. It's important when buying land in a semi-arid area, set a budget for sinking a borehole, as that would make your crops grow faster and easier. Covering of planted pockets requires no use of djembes or hoes. It's recommended to use legs since you need to cover with light, fine, loose soil to allow for easy germination. Hoes and djembes may cover the seed with boulders or hard soil, which may prevent germination of seeds.
If you plant, your fertilizer application is important. If you provide the crop a basic fertilizer, don't make the mistake to put the fertilizer too close to the seed, at least 2 inches away from your seed, and make sure that the plant has the fertilizer not on top of it. If you do so, you might have burning effect of the fertilizer. So apply it a little bit on the side of the hole.
Land preparation. There are several options for preparing land for soybean cultivation. They are mechanical land preparation. With mechanical land preparation, this involves plowing with a tractor and harrowing. And with manual land preparation, this involves a hoe and cutlass to clear the land, till it, and make ridges. The third form of land preparation is by animal-drawn plow. Whichever option the farmer can afford or have access to, he can till the land properly and get the seed bed ready for planting. Seed selection. Depending on where you're located in Nigeria, the varieties of soybean you can grow vary from one place to another. Soybean can be grown anywhere across the country. Whatever variety you choose, which is suitable for your ecology, make sure the seeds are very clean, free from impurity, debris, and are not damaged. Germination test. This test ensures that what you are planting germinates well, and the test follows a number of procedures. You must make sure that your seed is clean by removing all the impurities. Randomly select 100 seeds of the seed knot you want to plant. Plant them in a soil-filled bowl, moistened for at least 10 days before the day you want to plant, with the objective of finding out how many of them will germinate. 5 days after planting, observe these seeds and count how many of the 100 seeds germinated. Depending on the number of seeds that germinate, your seeds can be classified as either good enough for planting or one that requires that you plant more number of seeds than you would have planted ordinarily, or you need to change the seeds altogether. If at least 80 seeds germinate, you should plant 2 to 3 seeds per hole. If 70 to 80 seeds germinate, you should plant 3 seeds per hole. But when you have less than 70 seeds, you should get new seeds altogether. Once you have tested your seed and it is viable enough, the next step is to inoculate your soybean seeds. Inoculation. This is a very crucial step that needs to be taken seriously in soybean production with the objective of achieving a very healthy and productive soybean plant. When you inoculate your soybean with rhizobia, what you find is that the vegetation of the plant is very good, deep green and healthy because the inoculant helps the plant synthesize its whole nitrogen. This happens because the rhizobia inoculant lives in the root of the plant, forms the nodules, takes the atmospheric nitrogen and converts it to nitrates that can be used by the plant. This is Nodumax soybean inoculant. It's a biofertilizer that can be used to inoculate soybean seeds. It comes in 100 gram sachet and it can be used to inoculate 10 kilograms of soybean seeds. The sachet contains the inoculant powder, the user manual in Igbo, Hausa or Yoruba, and gum arabic. Inoculation follows the following process. Dissolve the gum arabic. Break the gum arabic into a plastic bottle with 100 ml of warm water and then shake very well until it dissolves. Measure 10 kilograms of soybean seeds. Please note, 3 full 5-liter paint buckets can be used as demonstrated for 10 kilograms measurement. Sprinkle the dissolved solution on the seeds and mix. While sprinkling, Your aim would be to make the seed moist and not wet, so the powder can stick on it. Pour in the inoculant powder and mix thoroughly. For every 10 kg seed you have measured, you must pour the 100 gram of inoculant powder into it. Mix until it is evenly coated. If your mixture is not wet, you can plant immediately. But if your mixture is very wet, you can allow it to dry for 15 minutes or less, and then you can start planting. Where there is no shade, you can make one out of 4 sticks and a sack in order to cover your inoculated seeds from direct sunlight. Too much sunlight on the seeds will affect the inoculant because it's a living organism and you won't want it to die before getting into the soil. After 5 minutes, the seeds are ready to be planted. Planting. You must make sure to plant everything you have mixed. You may want to note that the seed requirements and spacing vary. You can either plant on a ridge or on a flat land. If you choose to plant on a ridge, you can plant 2 rows on a ridge, place 3 to 4 seeds per hole, 2 cm to 3 cm deep and 5 cm apart, and then you can carefully close it, not too tight for easy germination. Another method is the drilling method, where you can make a line on the ridges, then place 1 seed each. If you decide to plant on flat land, while planting, in order to get the proper spacing, you plant 5 centimeters between holes and 50 centimeters or 75 centimeters between rows. Place 3 to 4 seeds per hole. Fertilizer application. Fertilizer application requirement for soybean is phosphate predominantly. You don't need nitrogen, especially when you have inoculated the soybean seeds. You can either use SSP, DAP, or TSP. Recommendations: SSP 3 bags per hectare, TSP 1.5 to 2 bags per hectare, DAP 1.5 to 2 bags per hectare. You place your fertilizer 2.5 centimeters away from the plant and 1 spot between every 2 planting holes. Then you cover. Please note, we advise on the need to apply fertilizer immediately after planting. Weed management. Weeds are any plants that are growing on the field that you do not desire, and it competes with your soybean crop for nutrients. Whether you do it manually or with chemicals, you must make sure that your field is free from weeds. Manual method. This involves using a hoe to remove all the weeds and getting them off the field. Chemical method. There are several herbicides that can be used, especially at planting, to prevent the weeds from growing in your field. If you use the right herbicide and it is sufficiently effective, you will find out that throughout the lifetime of your crop, weed emergence will be limited and there will be very little competition with your crop by weeds or nutrients. You should contact your agro dealer or extension officers to choose the right herbicides dependent on the weeds that grow in your area and the ecology that you have. Precautions. The chemical must be kept away from food in order not to be mistakenly ingested by anyone because they are poisonous. While spraying, you must be kitted properly to avoid the chemical touching your body. You must wear a cover that protects your arms and legs properly, but the trouser shouldn't be tucked into your boots because the chemical can still flow into it and touch your skin. After every spraying operation, wash your body thoroughly with clean water. Clean your spraying.
Maize, soybeans. The third crop we like to talk about is plantain. Plantain is in West Africa one of the dominant staple foods we have. And it looks like banana, but it has its own unique way of propagation, like banana. And so I like to show you also this video about how to plant plantain.
Hi, welcome back, guys. So, like every other crop farming, plantain farming has to start with proper pre-planting operations. And the first thing you need to know is you need to select the right soil. Yes, that is where the profit starts from. When you select the right soil, because plantains are lovers of well-drained soil. Don't go and get a land that is waterlogged. They ain't going to do fine. You need to get a soil that is well drained, so that this plantain crops or plants will be able to do just fine in them. So after you've selected, you need to then prepare your land. You do land clearing, you ensure that the proper land preparation is done. And after all this has been done, I'm going to show you the next one. The next thing we're going to be doing after we've gotten our land prepared and every other thing is we're coming to the proper sucker selection. So these things are called suckers. And for you to really have a bumper harvest at the end of the day, it starts from selecting the right sucker. I'm going to be showing you some things about this sucker that you need to pay attention to. So let me show you how to uproot the sucker from the parent plant. So we've gotten our sucker. There's something else you need to search for, which I'm going to be showing you right after this. After you've gotten your sucker, I'm just showing you an example using one of the suckers. Probably if you are going for several hectares of land, you are going to be needing several suckers. After you've gotten your suckers, you need to inspect the suckers to ensure that they are disease free. The number one thing you must ensure in your plantain cultivation is that you must ensure that they are disease free. Like what I'm doing right now is like this place is quite open. You must ensure that the comb of this is what we refer to as the comb of this plantain sucker is white. If you see any traces of diseases, make sure you take them out. Do not plant a diseased sucker, because that is where the first problem comes in. If you plant a diseased sucker, that means you are going to get the planting really wrong. So that is why you need to ensure that your suckers are disease free. And the number one sign in which you get to know if the suckers are disease free is you cut open the comb and you observe if there's going to be any black spot on it. Right now this particular sucker is disease free, and that is why we can't see any traces of any black spot or any traces of diseases. It is purely white. And if you like, you can decide to trim this 40 to 50 centimeters from the base of the sucker, or you can also decide to leave it like this. So after you've cleaned it, you need to treat it. What you need to treat this with is you need to treat it with a fungicide and an insecticide to ensure that they don't get any pest attack or any fungal attack. After you've gotten the suckers, you've cleaned them up like I'm doing right now, you then need to treat them with your fungicide. Yeah, just go to your agrochemical shop and you ensure you get the fungicide and an insecticide. You soak the whole of this sucker into it. You can choose to cut off this part. Just make sure about 40 to 50 centimeters from the base of the sucker. Make sure you treat every single part of this particular sucker. You treat it so that they don't get attacked by diseases. Next up, guys, is the planting. So before you start planting, there's something I must discuss with you and you need to take very seriously. When planting, you need to be very mindful of the spacing. You have to be very mindful of the spacing. Do you know that your spacing is the same as your yield? Okay, I'm going to explain that. When you get the spacing right, at the end of the day, your plant population is going to be correct, and you know your plant population determines the amount of money you get from the farm. Meaning, if you run shortage of the specific plant population you are supposed to get from a particular land area, that means you're already running at a loss. So before you even start planting in your plantain farming business, you must ensure that your spacing is gotten right. Now, what spacing is advisable to use in your plantain farming? the recommended spacing you use is you make use of, let's say from, we have, this is your rows, and then we have what we call inter-row and then intra-row spacing. So when you have your, you make sure that we recommend 2 meters by 2 meters, or you use 3 meters by 2 meters. So from one plantain to another, you should give it about 2 meters. You should give it about 2 meters. So I'm just going to assume that this is my 2 meters estimated value from that particular, from this very plantain here to this very one here is about 2 meters. So if I'm to then make my hole where I'm going to be planting the plantain suckers into, you need to ensure the first thing you have to do is to clear out the area, then you make your digging. Now the digging is, you are the recommended depth, you 40 centimeters deep, and then you make a width of 40 centimeters, and you ensure you go 40 centimeters deep, and ensure you keep the topsoil on a particular place. You ensure the topsoil doesn't mix with the ground soil, so you keep the ground one another side, and you ensure that the topsoil is kept on this side. You know why? Because the topsoil is richer in organic matter and it is richer in nutrients. So after we've dug the hole where we're going to be planting, I need you to come closer so we look at the hole. Come closer, look at the hole here. So now after we've dug, this is about 40 centimeter deep. It's about 40 centimeter deep. So we are then going to take this into the ground. Now, you know I told you need to keep your topsoil one side, so you ensure that the topsoil is the very first one you put in to the soil first before covering. You make sure you start covering with the top soil, and then we've planted. So the beauty of plantain, and why I recommend people and why it is so lucrative, is that this very sucker you're seeing here is going to produce nothing less than 4 suckers at the end of the day, nothing less than that. And you know what that means? One sucker is giving you 4 other suckers, and then you know when it comes to expansion, you are going to expand really fast. So that is why plantain business is so lucrative. Plantain farming business is so lucrative. This is the new oil well. People,
In addition to what the last video says, I would also recommend to provide sufficient organic material to the plantain. Preferable a mix of compost, fertilizer, lime, and soil to make sure that there is a microclimate around the plantain that can absorb water and hold water and provide the right nutrients on the right time the plant needs it. This is the last video, and I like to express my gratefulness that you have watched this video until the end. If you like it, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I hope you have something on this video. If you have questions, please let us know. And we hope to see you next time.